Welcome to Animal Football Insider, your weekly look into the happenings of your Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Florida Gators, and all things related to football. And now, from West Des Moines, Iowa, here's your host, The Animal.
And that is Rock Riley, host of the Rock Riley podcast that you see on Twitter every now and then, talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the bad weather that they were having today as they get ready for their game coming up this Sunday in Raymond James Stadium as they take on the Cincinnati Bengals. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Animal Football Insider. Yours truly coming at you from the great confines of West Des Moines, Iowa, on a night in which, we're at, what's going on here? Okay, so I didn't do something here, okay? Should have done it, didn't do it, okay? If I want to make myself look good, I have to do this, right? Okay, so hang on just a second. There we go. All right. Welcome to this edition of the Animal Football Insider on a night in which, we're at that point in the stage of the football season where playoff games are getting underway. Well, not playoffs, but college bowl games are going to get underway this weekend, including these boys right here, the Florida Gators. Loren Meadows will be on a little bit later on. We'll be talking about the Florida Gators as they would take on Oregon State in what's called in the Las Vegas Bowl on Saturday afternoon. We'll talk with Loren Meadows more about that and more what's happening off the field with recruiting, as recruiting is not too far around the corner as all that is happening. But of course, these guys behind me, the guys in the Peter Power Boys, known as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they've experienced a lot of their troubles as their own, as hopefully Rock Riley would join me a little bit later on in the show, as, they fell at the hands of the San Francisco 49ers in a bad way Sunday afternoon. And that's where we begin our broadcast here tonight. Traveling on the West Coast is not the easiest thing to do. When you travel 2 days, you have to go through a lot, and that includes getting over the jet lag and stuff. Because look, quite frankly, when you travel on the West Coast that long for 4 or 5 hours, it takes a lot out of you. Trust me, I've been there. I know what it's about. So for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, for them to travel out to San Francisco, a feat of their own. And they were facing the San Francisco 49ers, whereby we all know nothing could be finer than to be a 49er. Just as Brock Purdy, the former Iowa State Cyclone, who, quite frankly, put on a show that was really unbelievable. And this young kid who made his first start as a rookie quarterback. Now understand something. This is a guy that was the last player drafted. This was a guy that was drafted as the last player in all of the draft this past year. He's considered Mr. Irrelevant, okay? And a lot of times, guys like this don't even make the team. Well, for a guy like Brock Purdy, he had his chance due to the injuries of Trey Lance and also Jimmy Garoppolo. Trey Lance, also Trey Burton. Brock Purdy comes out. He decides to play against one of the best, I don't know about one of the best, but a Tampa Bay defense that has had its downfalls and upfalls throughout the course of this season. Turned out to be a downfall because for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they lost to the San Francisco 49ers 35-7 as Brock Purdy was just unbelievable. 16 of 21, 185 yards and 2 touchdowns on the afternoon. And here's the thing about it, folks. No INTs on the day. Okay. Now, this is against guys like Devin White. This is against guys like Levante. This is against guys like Vita Bay, who I don't think played in the game. And because the Bucs right now are banged up. And as Rock Riley would tell you when it comes on later on, is that this is a Buccaneer team that is really banged up. Okay, they're starting to show signs. They're starting to show signs of getting back healthy. We saw some encouraging footage today, and as you saw with the Buccaneers, they'll get even them are getting ready to. They look like they're ready, like gangbusters, to come out and play this Sunday. But, as I join my good friend Rock Riley here in just a minute, because he's kind of sweating off the towel right now because he's so nervous, I'm thinking that he's going to be on with his hero, the animal, just wiping off that sweat, because he's so nervous. But he's one of my good friends. Rock Riley, former Bay News 9. Now he has a podcast called the Rock Riley Podcast. Joining me here tonight, it's such a fun.
Animal, how you doing, Animal? How's everything going, my man?
Well, everything is going okay. There's snowing here in Des Moines, Iowa, but down there in Tampa, it's raining like cats and dogs. What's up with that?
Oh my God! I mean, right now, I just turned off the air conditioning for the first time. It's been like mid-80s. It's ridiculous. It's December. Come on.
I tell you what, we're battling 32 degree. We're battling 32 degree temperature right now. It is snowing, and it is just unbelievable. Speaking of coming down like cats and dogs, my God, what has happened to our beloved Tampa Bay Buccaneer team? Because when we last talked, I mean, look, we knew things were going to be pretty bad, but Rock, we didn't know things were going to be this horrible. And even as the way things are, they're still in first place in the NFC South.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Now, Byron Leftwich, who is the offensive coordinator today, he was saying, we're in first place. And a lot of teams, however it works out, a lot of teams would like to be where we are. And we're in the same position that we talked about during training camp. We want to get to the playoffs. Once you get in, anything can happen. But when we talked to Tom Brady today, he's a different story. He was like, okay, you're in first place. You're playing for something. He's like, we're 6-7. And you are what your record indicates. We have not played good football all year long. And we got 4 games to go. We'll try to get better. But he's a realist. They have been bad. What a drop-off. Everything is dropped off. The defense, the offense. They're averaging 17, 18 points a game from 30 points a game with the GOAT. So it has been dramatic. Everybody around here is like, well, when are they going to turn it on? Now we're to the point is this is who they are. They're a below 500 football team. They are a bad football team.
What's the old saying goes? We thought who we thought we were. Yeah, I was
Dennis Green.
Was that Dennis Green? Yeah, broke up the podium and all that. That's one of the classic lines, you think, in all football. But Sunday afternoon in San Francisco, I mean, I thought I saw the most horrible football I've seen as a Buccaneer fan 2 weeks ago against the Cleveland Browns.
Right.
But Rock, oh my God, Sunday afternoon, talk about horrible. I mean, I'm just reading the stats on Brock Purdy a few minutes ago before you came on. 16 of 21, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns on the day. And what is so amazing? 0 interceptions. 0 interceptions. And before you comment, again, let's keep this in mind. This is a guy. He was drafted as Mr. Irrelevant, something that people talk with me, say that I am a lot, but that's another story altogether. But this is a guy that was drafted labeled Mr. Irrelevant. Usually a guy that gets drafted like that is on a practice squad, and thanks to injuries to Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo, he gets to start. And now this is a guy that just may turn out to be the best thing to happen to San Francisco since Rice-A-Roni.
Well, being a Buccaneers fan, that rookie quarterbacks do a number on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I mean, not only with this regime, if you go all the way back. That being said, Purdy, Dan Marino was his idol. That's why he wears that number. But he was a huge Tom Brady fan. So all week we're talking to Tom Brady, and he was admitting they went out a day early, supposedly to get used to the time change, but he was going to meet with family, friends. He said he grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. He was a better baseball player than he was a football player, and he loved the 49ers at that time. Joe Montana, even in the Steve Young, his mom, dad, his sister, they would go to the nosebleed section of Candlestick Park, and he said it was just a great time to be a 49ers fan. So I asked him, well, with all those emotions, you're going to be seeing people you haven't seen from a long time. You're going back to play the 49ers. You only played them one other time in your career when you were with the Patriots, and you got the win. Brady remembers everything. 23-16. It was a rainy day. Like, he remembered everything. But I said, Tom, can you put those emotions aside, being a 49ers fan? He's like, no, I'm not a 49ers fan now, because they passed on him 5 picks when he was coming out of Michigan. And, he's got to say that. But, deep down, he probably is a little bit of a 49ers fan. So I figured this was going to be the game for Brady. And it was everything but. It was just the opposite animal.
And I'm looking at the stats, and it's just horrible. I mean, the stats are good. 34-55 for 253 yards, 1 touchdown, but he throws 2 picks on the day. Nobody got a touchdown except for Gage on the receiving side. But you look at these numbers against a 49er team that's not supposed to be good at all, and I'm just disheveled. I don't want to say disheveled. I don't want to say disheveled, but geez.
It's the same way in the building. Here's the thing. I was talking to someone in the building today, and he was saying, you got to understand. Yeah, you had Brady. Brady has not lost the arm strength. Now, I watch him at practice. But he has not been in rhythm. He has some off throws. That's usually not Brady. He hasn't been in rhythm with his receivers really all year long. You got to remember, you got Mike Evans. Yeah, you got Godwin. You've got good, defensive players and great linebackers. However, he's missing his all-pro center, Ryan Jensen. He had an all-pro Ali Marpet at left guard. He had Alex Kappa at right guard. Say what you will, the guys that have come in, they're not those guys. And Brady last year and the year before was the second fastest release, snap to throw. Roethlisberger 1, Brady 2. This year, Brady he was already getting rid of it that fast. He's gotten rid of it a half second to a half second, even faster. So that half second, worrying about getting hit, he won't say that, but you can tell he doesn't trust the offensive line. He is 45, so he wants to play. He's played every snap, so he doesn't want to get hit. So he's getting rid of it faster, and it's off. They're off, and they haven't been in rhythm all season long. So that's the thing. I know Leftwich today is like, look, man, we've got it all in front of us. If they finish 8-9 and they win the NFC South, you're guaranteed a home playoff game. And he's like, we got that. But when Brady is like, That's not that big deal. You have not been able to click. Now, look, they did click in Munich. They showed against Seattle that they could play a good game in complementary football. Go figure. Seattle came in pretty good. Geno Smith, pretty good. That was a good team. So they have the capability, but they just haven't been able to do it hardly at all. Yeah, opening game against Dallas was good. They go to New Orleans. They beat New Orleans. And after that, it's just been bad.
I mean, bad from every sense of the word. And you touched on a key statement here. Putting trust in the offensive line. They've had, quite frankly, more injuries than the Animals has had States in its teenage years, but that's another story altogether. But, nevertheless, I mean, now look, we saw some encouragement today with Tristan Wirfs running on the sidelines. Todd Bowles has said, I think yesterday, maybe today, you know more about this than I would, but he's made a statement that we're going to take a look at Tristan Wirfs, and they're thinking that maybe he might be able to go this weekend.
Yeah, here's the deal. I got footage of him. I was there yesterday and today. And yesterday he was working with a trainer. He was backpedaling. It looked pretty good just from a distance. Then today we had torrential rain. First time we've had rain in a long time, and it came down. And I mean, it was they have this big red siren outside the Advent Health Center when there's lightning. We hadn't had lightning because it's winter. And there was lightning today, so it was inside. They have a beautiful indoor facility, huge. But on the far end, there's Tristan Wirfs. He's got the full uniform on. He's looking okay. Well, we go over to his locker, and he said that, he feels it. And the thing is, if it's like, ooh, man, it's still kind of raw, but if he guts it out, do you have him go, or do you give him one more week if they are going to be in the playoffs? You know what I mean? So I thought, just watching him, I'm like, oh my God, he's going to play. But then after we're talking to him, he's like, I want to go. We'll see. So that would be huge. That would be huge. But the thing about it is, Animal, man, look, the longer I've been covering the NFL, you've been around a long time, you would think that the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow are going to blow them out. That's what you would think, okay? Because they've won 5 in a row, and they're playing complementary football. Their defense is coming through. They're running it with the two-headed back. Joe Burrow is on fire. Jamar Chase is back. So, I mean, they're one of the hottest teams right now in football. The Bucs are so bad, you think this is going to be a blowout, but sometimes it doesn't go that way. So I would expect Cincinnati to mop the floor with them. That's what I would expect. But I've been wrong before.
One of the things I was looking at, and I was looking, I was roaming through Twitter as I always do, and looking at your exciting tweets as always. They were talking about the Bengals. Somebody mentioned about the Bengals. They have played all other teams in the NFC South. They beat them. Joe Burrow threw for like 980 yards or something like that. Has been outstanding in the NFC South. But I don't think Joe Burrow has played the capacity of this Buccaneer defense at what they're capable of doing.
Right. Thing about it is, when you really look at it, like, okay, Ndamukong Suh, he was older, but you know what? He brought something to that defensive line. Okay, so they decided he was going to be too much money. Boom. They bring in Akeem Hicks from the Bears. Guy's been hurt most of the year. Hasn't done that much. He's shown some flashes. When he and Vita Vea, for 2 game stretch or so, they were working together. That helps out Vita Vea. But now Vita Vea's been hurt. And really, that's the knock on Vita Vea. There's that old saying, Animal, you can't make the club in the tub. So, I mean, they haven't been getting the pass rush.
I like that, yeah.
Sapp used to say that too. No, built like Tarzan, play like Jane. But they haven't been doing a good job against the run. That was the MO. Even going back to the Jameis Winston days, this defense was so good against the run. They're worse than middle of the pack, so they haven't done a good job that way. And pressuring on the quarterback, like, where's that come? Shaq Barrett, he's been out. Joe Tryon Shoyinka, Here's a guy, oh my God, he's got all the skills he's built. He has regressed. So you're not getting that. Carl Nassib, who they picked back up to come back for the Raiders, he actually has been showing something. He's now injured. I don't know if he's going to be able to play in this game. So, but you know what? At this point, I don't like talking excuses because every team, look at what the Bengals actually had to go through, and they weathered the storm. Their depth was tested, and they got it done. They didn't have their two studs the last game. They're still able to get it done. So there's really no excuses, but it's just mind-boggling to me to know that Brady is there and that he knows and sees everything. And when I watch practice, his arm strength is there. The year that the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl, going back to the Brad Johnson era, I can remember going to practice, and I was like, Brad Johnson's arm is done. And yet they got it done. Great defense, and they got it done. Some people are saying that, and even some experts, Brady, Father Time, this is it. He's looking like Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning had broken vertebrae and he wasn't able to throw the out ball. Brady's able to do it. I watch it at practice. Yes, he's a little slower, and he wasn't mobile as it was. Yeah, he is 45 years old. He's not what he was when he was 23 or 24. But to go from 30 points a game down to 18 and struggle, and they're always third and long, it's really terrible to watch.
I was seeing something where and I want you to address this. By the way, Rock Riley's joining me on this edition of the Animal Football Insider. Oh my gosh, I forgot to do something here. I'm sorry. Hang on just a minute, buddy. Rock Riley joining me on this edition of the Animal Football Insider, joining me on the Carpet Direct hotline. Carpet Direct for all your carpet needs in Des Moines, Iowa. Give my good friend Benton Taylor a call. He'd be more than happy to set you up. He does a great job, and he's going to do some carpeting work for me down the road. I got to plug my sponsor, my friend.
Of course,
the Animal getting a sponsor, that just like me getting a Rolls Royce. But that's another story. That's another story down the road. I was reading something today, and I was glancing over, but what I read of it said that Tom Brady talked with the unit throughout the whole week and makes changes to the game plan the night before the game. I'm sure you've heard about this, and I know that Byron Leftwich commented on this. Take it from here.
All right, here you go. His name is Michael Silver. He was in San Francisco.
Michael Silver reported
basically stalking Brady the whole time after the game. And he wrote this story where Brady is meeting with some of the offensive players, including the running backs, in the hotel before the game on a Saturday, and is going over and changing plays. And basically that Byron Leftwich and the coaching staff weren't even aware. All right, so you look at that and you think, well, maybe Brady's been around, all these years, 2 decades, maybe the case. Oh, my God. So I found out even before the press conferences started. I'll tell you this. Someone did a one-on-one interview with Rashad White, who's the young running rookie.
Right, yeah.
And he's like, we meet all the time. There's nothing that we discuss. And Brady will sometimes say, okay, we're looking at this and running. How you feel about this? I'd like to see more of this, this, and this. But it wasn't like it was anything, nor they do this all the time. So, okay. So we go in, and Leftwich was asked about it. And Leftwich is like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. And he's like, I know. And Rick Stroud from the Tampa Bay Times was asking the question, and he was kind of beating around the bush. And it was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, is there a possibility that Brady is kind of like changing plays on the day before the game that you wouldn't even know about? And he's like, no, I talk to Brady every day. And on Saturday, it's go time. We're not making too many changes at that time. When Brady was asked about it today, he's like, what's your question? What are you talking about? And he's like, people can write anything they want. Doesn't happen. I don't know what you're talking about. So that's one of those things where It was way blown out of proportion, but
Way blown out of
because the Bucs are so bad, because there's so many that can't stand Brady and want to see him fail. You want to see that guy at the top go down. They're tired of him being at the top. It's Brady. You're going to get that. And then it's going to be, oh, there's Brady again. Oh, he's so arrogant. Oh, he's going above and beyond his cut. And then he was like, I got a great relationship with Leftwich. I know that was probably killing those that can't stand Leftwich. But make what you will. That was the response to that.
And look, I'll be you know me, as long as a Buccaneer fan that I have been, he's driving me crazy by some of the play calls that he makes, especially first down, run. It's always on first down, run. You never see him take an opportunity to throw the ball. It's always run. And it's like, you go back to the old John McKay days and ask, what were your thoughts of the execution of the offense? Oh, yeah, I'm in favor of it. I mean, and that's how, really, truthfully, that's how this is, if you really stop and think about this. It really drives me nuts. So they take on the Cincinnati Bengals, 4:25 Eastern Time, 3:25 Central Time. And it's going to be on CBS. Yep. Jim Nance, Tony Romo, yep. Tracy Wolfson will be on the sidelines calling the game. I will be able to see the game here in Des Moines. So I'm really excited about it. Do you see an upbeat happening with this offense against the Cincinnati Bengals? I look at the Bengals and I see a good team, but I don't see a great team. But maybe I'm wrong. Talk to me about the Bengals.
No, I think they are one of the best teams in the AFC. They're shooting for a number 1 seed. And the thing about it is what are they doing right now? I don't like to go through back, week number. Look at where we are. We're at the end of the season. There's 4 games left, including this one. That's how far along we are. But the thing about it is the defense is playing better. Like, they're playing well in all phases. And Joe Burrow said that after their game. They had a sloppy start last week against Cleveland. He admitted, he goes, I missed some throws. That's the thing. Oh, Brady's missing some throws. Every quarterback at times misses some throws. But he got back in it, and they got in their rhythm. And after that first quarter, they were good. The defense was playing real good. But again, like I said, it's the NFL. It's a home game for the Buccaneers. And, a lot of people here, have been waiting for them to turn it on, Animal, and they haven't done it. So I'm to the point now is this is who you are. You're a 6-7 football team. You're not a good football team. Kind of keeping an eye on past this year. What's going to happen? Is Leftwich going to still be the offensive coordinator? Todd Bowles is only in this position 1 year. The Glazers have never fired a coach with 2 years is the least amount of time, and it's usually around 3. That's been the MO of the Glazers.
Go ahead.
Oh,
okay. No. I was fixing to say no. You were wrong, and then I kind of stopped back in the 80s. Richard Williamson 1 year, but that was way back. Way back. Okay, no. You're right. You're right.
So
I'm sorry.
There's so much up in the air. If I saw something where I could say, you know what, once they get in with Brady, never count them out. Look at what he did with the 2 touchdowns in 3 minutes a couple of weeks ago. He still has that ability. He's better when they're no huddle and just going down the field because he can see. He can see what he's seen everything. And Mike Evans, I asked him in the locker room about that no huddle right after that game. I'm like, God, you guys got it done. And he was like, we practiced that a lot. That's something that the coaches have done. They practice that 2-minute offense, that no huddle, move the chains a lot. So it's not only Brady's able to do that well, you have to have everybody on the same page. So they're good at that. And as a matter of fact, last week, that was a lot of those are the questions that the offensive players were getting an awful lot, including Brady. You know what? You guys do so good in the no huddle and the hurry up offense. Do you ever think about doing that all game? And Brady was like, all game? at the NFL level, I don't think that's possible. Shaq Mason, who's the starting right guard, was like, all game? Boy, you're winning. He's like, I don't know. I don't know if I can do all huddle, no game. But when Leftwich said he thinks that is a possibility. Not just the team.
But you know what? They do a lot better. They do a lot better than no huddle. I was going to ask you this. Let's go back to that game. 3 minutes to go. Brady has the ball. I want take me. You're at the game. I want you to tell us those last 3 minutes that you were there. Were you in the box? Were you on the field waiting to go into the locker room? I mean, come on. Tell us about those last 3 minutes from your perspective of things.
All right. So I'm sitting up in the press box. You go down. We used to have a pass. Someone in the media ruined it for everybody. I can't get on the field. This year they were trying something new. We were allowed to go on the field for 5 minutes to go. So I'm thinking
5 to go. Okay.
So I'm thinking it's the same way. Go down, about 6 minutes to go. And the consensus up in the press box was, this is horrible, because the rest of that whole game was horrible. It's like, they're done. That's it. They're done. It's horrible. No, not even a thought that Brady would all of a sudden would be able to bring them back 3 minutes, 2 touchdowns, where you hadn't done squat all game. So go down to the press box, go out with my credential. Oh, no, you're not allowed. Whoa, we're not allowed. I would have stayed up top. No, you're not allowed. Stand over there. Okay. So they have built now where the Buccaneer players come in and come out. Uh-huh. They have built this club, which is all glass. I forget who the sponsor is. And if you got a lot of money, pregame, you can go in there. You can have your drinks and food. You're in basically the tunnel. It's all glass. It's a new club. And
wow.
fans can see that. But at the end of the game, they're not in there. So we're down there. The only monitor that we can see is over through the glass in this new restaurant club.
Oh, my gosh.
It's a TV that's so small. And meanwhile, the TV is on a 7-second delay. So you can hear the crowd noise, and it's been strange.
And then watch. Oh, my gosh.
And you kind of hit it. And then, what? Brady, yeah, I think he's bringing them down. And I'm next to some other reporters. We're like, all right, damn, he got it done for one series, you know. All right, how much time is left? We're trying to squint, looking at our phones.
1 minute.
And then
1 minute.
Then that was the first series. We didn't think there was that much time. And then they get it back, and then Brady's doing it. We're here in the crowd. Is that the other team's crowd? No. And then watching it, oh my God, got it done. Now, excuse me, I'm getting excited. Remember it again.
No, because so that you never actually won the field seeing the winning touchdown.
No, so now they win it.
Wow.
Brady comes in. Brady was pumped up. He was hugging some players out on the field.
Yes, he was. I saw that. All that.
He did all this. Yeah, someone was yelling. He goes in. We went in the locker room. You would think that they had won the Super Bowl. It was because, listen, their season was done. Now they had some life. The GOAT brought them back. So they're hooting and hollering. They were just so happy, all that. Now we wait for Brady to come in after Todd Bowles in the media room that they have downstairs. And Brady comes in, and he was like,
just how we drew you up.
Just how we drew it up. And was it the other one? Yeah, just how we drew it up. And the other week, that was fucking awesome. Remember that? But anyway.
Oh, yeah.
But just how we drew it up. However, though, honestly, after that first statement, you could tell he was pissed. Yes, he loves that he got it, but you could tell the frustration. And when it was done, he even is like, Nelson, Jesus, come on. Like to Nelson, who is the PR director. In other words, like,
yeah, Nelson Ruiz.
Yeah, you should have shut down the questions, and it was that long. He was just frustrated, knowing that you can't bank on 2 touchdowns in 3 minutes and think you're going to do anything when you don't do anything all game long. So, just watching him, Animal, you can see like reality is set in. He knows what it is. You're not going to get Gronk back. Yeah, maybe you do.
No, that's not going to happen.
Antonio Brown is long gone. Who do you have? This is a team. Does he want to play again? I was talking to somebody in the building today saying that they think that he honestly has not really made up his mind. Is he going to go somewhere else? And if he goes somewhere else, it's going to be 2 years max or one. It's got to be a team that's ready to go. Or does he just go in the booth? Is he going to end his career like this? Because it's $350 million to be on the number one broadcast team with Fox.
Yeah.
Does he want to do that? Because now he doesn't have his wife. His wife didn't like Tampa. She couldn't stand Tampa. Always in his ear, hates Tampa. That's why she's down in Miami. So he doesn't have that. He doesn't have the nagging. He doesn't have, you got to stop playing. But does he think he doesn't want to be like this? He'll be another year older next year. So there's a lot of uncertainty in that building now.
Speaking of uncertainty, and we only have like a minute to go. Twitter had something on this week about with the Rays and what's going on, possibility of a new ballpark down in St. Pete. But now a new thing has come out to where a very nice drawing has come out about a baseball facility in Tampa. Just real quickly, I mean, how is people taking that new development on about the possibility of that development there in Tampa?
They have been disappointed for a couple of decades, at least the last 15 years about the stadium. And until Rays owner Stu Sternberg is willing to put in a big chunk of the money, where is this money going to come from? That's the thing. It's like, wow, that did look good. The new renderings, that one in Tampa, that looked beautiful. That was kind of where we were kind of talking about it today in the Bucs media room. Damn, that looks nice. But once again, who's going to step up? Who's going to pay for all this thing? It's cost more and more with materials. You see how inflation is right now, and so I don't know if it's ever going to get done. I honestly don't know. I don't know.
But do you like that setting in Tampa?
No, you do. I do. I think that would be great. It absolutely looks good. There's more of a population than there is in St. Pete. The other side of St. Pete is all water, even though you see the river there in Tampa. That looked pretty good. But you can draw from Polk County and draw from Lakeland. And
exactly.
Draw that way. So.
Exactly. It just makes sense. But okay. Talk about you now. Let's talk about you for just a minute. You used to be on Bay News 9. I still miss your 11 p.m. shows, but you got a great thing going with Rock Raleigh podcast. Take some time and talk about your show.
Thanks, Animal. The podcast I have a couple podcasts. The one podcast I have is The Rock Stops Here, and I interview those that have made it to the top in baseball, NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, or some in the entertainment world or the media. Adam Schefter, Peter Schrager, you name it. How did you get there? And what was it like maybe even after you're not at the top? So it's The Rock Stops Here, wherever you get your podcast. Also, 24 hours before every Buccaneer game, courtesy of JoeBucsFan.com, it's Bucs Kickoff Podcast. It's everything that I have seen all week. Inside One Buck, what I'm hearing, a lot of inside stuff. So I got that. I also am a reporter for the Tampa Free Press. So I cover Rays and Lightning and Bucks and hopefully some more things this year. I'm optimistic, Animal. So there you go.
Okay. Speaking of Joe Bucs fan, I got to ask you one question. Is Joe Bucs fan actually Ira Kaufman, or is it somebody that you think I would know?
There are two guys that go by the name of Joe, fictitious, that they've been in the business. One you may or may not know, been around a long time, and then Ira. So that's it, man. And they scour every bit of information, anything with Buccaneers related. Joe Bucs fan. It's a great site. You get it real fast. Boom.
Please do me a favor and say hello to Ira, and I want to get him on my show sometime. Yeah. Also, please say hello to Nelson Luis. I miss the man a lot. Great guy.
I will.
Hey, I got to get you out of here. I've kept you on too long. Thanks for joining me tonight, man.
You got it, Animal, always.
Thank you, man. Rock Raleigh joining us on this edition of the Animal Football Insider. Now, we promised my good friend Loren Meadows to join me on the show. But before I do, I want to play a little clip or something here, and I think Loren Meadows is going to see this in just a minute. Hopefully, and he'll understand what we're talking about. But, And throughout the whole world of college football, you know that there are some great coaches. You know that there are some not so great coaches. And then there are those coaches who were just basically think out the box, plain and simple. And one of those is a man by the name of Mike Leach. Let me show you what we're talking about here as I go to bring this up here if I can. I'm going to share this for you right now. See if I can't bring this up here. Righty. Right here. So this is Mike Leach, head coach of Mississippi State, who passed away this week, and he's talking with ESPN's. Oh heck, I'll remember the name in just a minute. But let's go ahead and play this real quick.
Okay, so where's Trevor from?
He's from Florida.
What does Trevor do for a living?
He works in sports as well, covers football.
He does what?
He covers football as well.
Really? Well, I don't know. We'll keep a close eye on it, but whatever you and Trevor decide, I would kind of keep it on the down low, which you failed to do that. Trevor was probably planning to, but you didn't. So go ahead and don't say anything else about it. But as soon as the season's over, or even an off week, go elope. Trust me on that. Go elope. Because basically every female in the family is going to terrorize you guys until it's over.
That is Mike Leach. I got to get this off here a minute. But that is Mike Leach talking with ESPN's, I'll remember the name, Loren Meadows of Gator Bait Magazine. Help me here. Who was that? I forget.
Was that Heather? Was that Heather Dinich?
No, not Heather. Not Heather. Shoot, she does
Alyssa Lang.
Alyssa Lang, yes. Alyssa Lang talking with Mike Leach. Now, the reason why we had that on because Mike Leach passed away this past weekend, and our hearts and prayers go out to the Mike Leach family. And you know, as we bring Loren Meadows on, writer with Gator Bait Magazine, I mean, you know, Mike Leach was surely one of a kind. Make no mistake about it.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you know, the guys like a Mike Leach, you know, I tell people all the time, you know, when they talk about, well, he's the next this, or, you know, guys like, you know, you can go back to the Bear Bryants, the Darrell K. Royals, the, you know, Steve Spurriers, you know, Mike Leach. You know, those guys just don't come around all the time. And even though Mike Leach was a little different from a personality standpoint, his you know, his effect, his mark on the game of football from an X and O standpoint, his coaching tree, and the way that he just went about you know, the approach of the game of football and kind of revolutionizing that. And you know, I just think he will be sorely missed. I mean, just one of the very best guys, very humble, never took himself too seriously. And I think in this day and age where a lot of guys go in, you know, as the young kids say, go in for 2 or 3 years, get the bag, and then go elsewhere. You know, he's somebody that, you know, would coach an outpost such as Lubbock, Texas, and Pullman, Washington, and even Starkville, Mississippi, but was able to bring high-quality football teams to some of the major conferences in football. And like I said, he was somebody I saw today, Hal Mumme, you know, even though you wouldn't think so, you know, Hal Mumme talked about how he was a tireless recruiter and never thought that he was going to lose a recruiting battle. Like he literally came back and told Hal Mumme that when they were at I guess it was at Kentucky, that he really thought he was going to get Eli Manning. And so, you know, with some of those things in play, you know, it just you know, just a sad situation all the way around. But college football aches for this loss, no doubt about it.
Think about this. Guys like Cliff Kingsbury from the Mike Leach tree, Help me with a couple of the names here.
Josh Heupel, Dave
Josh Heupel.
Aranda,
George Heupel, yeah.
Graham Harrell, Lincoln
That's,
Riley.
that's right, Lincoln Riley.
He won a national title with Josh Heupel as his quarterback. I mean, the list goes. I mean, you go through that whole anybody running the air raid, is a former pupil of Mike Leach in some way, shape, or form, and he just the impact that he had on the coaching profession and young people. I mean, should definitely be applauded. I mean, like I said, we could go through the list and even look a little bit more, but the names that people would know would be obviously Cliff Kingsbury, Lincoln Riley, Dave Aranda, and others that he truly touched.
We're going to talk more about Cliff Kingsbury because I've heard some rumblings about him in just a little bit. Loren Meadows joining me here on the Corporate Direct One hotline on this edition of the Animal Football Insider, coming at you on Thursday night. We're about ready to tie a bow this weekend, finally, on the 2022 season. And I'm kind of sad about the ending, but by the same token, it could not come soon enough.
Well, I mean, I think that, I think you're right. And then in a little ways, it's kind of for me, I'm such a fan of the game of football that, I kind of ache a little bit for Florida football. I know it's been a tough year. It's been tough for the Gator fans to kind of stomach. But at the same time, like I tell people, it's a one-game season. And if Billy Napier in his first year can go out and finish 7-6, with a third string quarterback, which, I mean, I'm sure we'll get on that here in a minute. I think they're going to play a lot better than people give them credit for. Looking at Oregon State, doesn't necessarily push the ball down the field very well. Their quarterback is definitely turnover prone from an interception standpoint. But I think once again, looking at next week, I think next week is going to be a positive. With the early signing period, I think Florida fans will be fairly pleased. I mean, I know they didn't get Big Samson tonight, but those things happen, as far as recruiting. And I think once they really dive into the transfer portal, once the dust settles, I mean, Billy Napier, like I said, he really pounded on the table after the FSU game and said, we're going to get better. And I think they will. And I think, I think fans and in general, but particularly Gator fans, need to kind of change their mode of thinking and don't necessarily get caught up in the recruiting rankings, even though I think Florida will finish probably in the top 8, not even the top 10, but top 8. But also pay more attention to that transfer portal, because that's going to be the new norm. And that's kind of how you're going to build your teams. Like I told somebody the other day on one of the message boards, I truly think recruiting as we know it will be obsolete in 5 years. I really do.
Let's first talk about the game this weekend. They're taking on Oregon State Beavers, who come into this game, not really a bad team. They have the 7th best offense in the conference, averaging 399 yards, scoring about 32 points per game. The offense gives rushes for 199 yards, passes for 200, pretty balanced. Defense gives up about 342 yards on the day. Whereby for Florida, they come into this game, they have their offense is ranked 7th in the SEC, 32 in the FBS. Averaging like 441 yards total offense. The passing game is 227 yards on the year, averaging 69th in the country. They give up 415 yards per game, which ranks like 103rd in the FBS. So Florida has a mixture from that side, but it's going to be interesting to see with all these guys have went into the transfer portal and left the team, to find out who's ready to become a Gator and who's not ready to become a Gator.
Yeah, I mean, to focus on the game, I look at Oregon State, like you said, I would definitely say they're a much better team on defense than they are on offense. Like I said, the numbers are that they were next to last in passing. Like I said, they don't necessarily push the ball down the field, and
No.
you go into a game where Florida still is going to have a complement of some household names still available for this football game, and guys like Montrell Johnson Jr., Trevor Etienne, Xavier Henderson, Ricky Pearsall, Caleb Douglas, Jaquavion Frazier. All those guys that kind of missed the last couple games and didn't play against FSU, they're all going to be back. You're still going to have Rashad Torrance, Amari Burney, Trey Dean, Jason Marshall Jr., Jaden Hill,
And Osiris, he's going to play in the game, even though he says he's going to the transfer portal. He's expected to play in the game as well, from what I understand.
Who are you talking about? Osiris Torrance? No, he's not playing.
He's not playing. Okay, I thought he was. Sorry about that.
Cameron Waits, the big 6'8" tackle that Billy brought from Louisiana, is actually slated to start at right guard for that game. But I mean, but the offensive line, you still have Tarquin, Barber, Richard Garage, Ethan White, Kingsley, Egwatkin. So there's a lot of household names. Now the depth will not be there, and that could play a part, but not necessarily. There's still a lot of guys that have played a lot of meaningful football and made plays for Florida that'll be out on that field. And I think Gator fan, if Jack Miller can play, I tell people he doesn't have to play great. He just has to play well, because the Gators are going hang their hat on that running game, and that's where they've been successful all year. And if they can find space in the running game and allow Jack Miller to utilize play action to kind of open up some of those throwing lanes and make the easy throws, obviously it would be in Florida's best interest to shorten the game. But I'm gonna tell you, man, if you go back and look at that Oregon State game, Oregon State had no business winning that football game. I mean, they were totally dominated in that game to about the last 12 minutes of the game. So if you really go back and look, they turned the ball over. It just really, and I think it's going to be interesting. I think if Florida shows up ready to go to war, and Billy Napier, like I said, minus the Vanderbilt game, I think has done a nice job of getting that team ready to play. I think that 10-point spread's a little much in my book.
Loren Meadows joining us on this edition of the Animal Football Insider, and we're going to get to some interesting news that developed during the course of the week. Now, that's the game. That's the game itself. Saturday, I believe, 2:30 p.m. Is that that's on ESPN, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, I believe it's on ESPN to 2:30 Central Time. Should be. I think it should be an outstanding game. I'll be glued in front of the TV with my Gator stuff on, ready to watch that game.
All right.
Then they turn right around immediately, then get ready for recruiting the following, which is going to be like the following Tuesday or Wednesday. I forget which day. I believe it's 3 days, right?
21st. It starts the 21st. So
21st, 22nd, and 23rd.
So next Wednesday, I think, is the first day.
So next Wednesday, Thursday, and possibly Friday. I think it's 3 days for early signing day period. From everything I've been hearing, that there's going to be a lot of players that's going to be signing and actually reporting early for Florida. Getting in there early, from everything that I'm hearing, which bodes well, I think, for Billy Napier. But
absolutely,
a lot of the people that you talk to are not too excited about this class, and I can't understand why, because you're about to ready to pull in a top 10 signing class.
Yeah, I don't see what the issue is. I mean, for you to go, obviously could go 6 and 7 or 7 and 6. And be able to pull in a top 10 class, and a quality class at that is not just filling holes. I mean, they're filling holes as opposed to just grabbing numbers. there's a glaring need at the wide receiver position. Defensive backs need to be retooled. Defensive line. So all these things are being addressed. So that's what I said. If people aren't really paying attention to the way that this team is built, the way that they've gotten they got their quarterback this year. They got the quarterback for 2024.
Jacob
Right.
Rashada, yeah.
And then DJ Lagway in 24, committed last week. So, I mean, if we could keep those guys in the fold, I don't understand what people are seeing from a recruiting standpoint. And then, like I said, being able to get those guys in January, get them in school, and then have them ready for spring ball. And along with, like I said, I look for Florida to be extremely aggressive in the transfer portal. There could be another quarterback that could be of interest, Grayson McCall
Grayson McCall,
the young man from Tulane who hasn't announced, I don't think officially that he's leaving, but he's a South Florida kid, somebody that could come in and help. So, I think that all those things, just enjoy the game this weekend and then kind of go, then just operate from that. After that, I mean, people, there's an off season for a reason, and we have to give, Katie Turner was everybody's darling in the spring, and now, Gator fans don't want to give her staff and Billy Napier and the coaches time to recruit and get out there and do their thing, So
I saw something this week. You know who Josh Pate is, with late kicks, and Josh can actually make some very interesting points this week. And I want to touch on this. This has to do with the NIL. And for those that are not aware, is a thing where when players come, they can sign a contract through name, image, and likeness and receive money for promoting their products. Correct me if I'm wrong in assessing how that is.
You could explain it different ways, but that's pretty much it. Yep.
Okay. So there's a guy down in Miami. He's an attorney. And he's a man allegedly with big money, guy by the name of John Ruiz. You know who I'm talking about. I think you know where I'm going to go with this.
Yeah.
And, Ruiz is known for bringing in players and signing them to big long-term NIL deals that is going on. And Florida was on the verge of getting a good offensive lineman, but that lineman announced today that he's signing with Miami. Allegedly because Florida did not put in the money for the NIL deal that what Miami put in. Okay. I understand that. Josh Pate went on a rant the other day, and it's great, and you need to look it up on Late Kicks. And what Josh says in a nutshell is this. You can either go to Miami, get this big money deal, and play at Miami, then you might not get a good deal in the NFL, might not be drafted. But if you go to a school where you get very little money in college from the NIL, and you prove yourself, then you're going to get the money in the National Football League. And I kind of think, and I like the take that Josh, I like the analogy that Josh puts on this, and I think I think full well where I'm going with this.
Right. Well, I'm going to play not devil's advocate because I agree with everything Josh Pate says. I'm gonna give you a twist. I think particularly when it comes to an offensive lineman, okay, for Miami, so to speak, the one thing that Mario Cristobal can say to a kid like Sampson, and I can't pronounce his last name, is
I can't either.
I played offensive line. I've coached this person, that person on the offensive line. Come to Miami. Your head coach is a former offensive lineman. Plus, we're going to give you a great NIL deal. Now, if you take Miami out of that situation and just look at it like you said, where you're going to a school that's the highest bidder but may not develop you, yeah, I agree. And that's the risk is, you know how it is in this society where we've moved from, let's go out, let's work hard as possible. Let's work as hard as we possibly can. Let's pay our dues. That's going by the wayside, Animal. And that's the thing where I think these kids, just like with this money now, it's fast money. Let me get it while I can get it. And, unfortunately, and my mother and I talked about this because I asked her, I said, would you have let me go to a school that's the highest bidder, or would you have told me to go to the school that you really want to go to? And
you know what? Yeah, I mean, yeah. Go ahead.
And she said, well, it's hard for us to look at it because my parents had done well for themselves and things like that. But she said, you got to look at it this way, Loren. For some of those people, that's life-changing money. And I said, but Mom, is there really much difference between 1.5 million and $1 million? And she was like, well, yeah, it really is. And I was like, yeah, you're right. So I think it's just, I think if you try to look at it in this world, we try to make things as black and white as we can, but there's really so many gray areas that exist. And until this thing really gets a handle on, until we really get a handle on it and see how it shakes out, I think we're going to continue to have these conversations, because you're going to have some guys that are like, I grew up a Florida fan. I wanted to go to Florida, like Trayon Webb. My uncle played at Florida. I'm Florida. And then you're going to have others that are like, hey, I can be bought. Make it happen. What you got? What can you give me? You got a car, you got, and I'm gone. So it just, there's very little loyalty anymore. I could never, I'd never understand these kids to go on these recruiting visits. I would not want a picture of me anywhere in any school. I would tell those coaches, I'm not taking any pictures. I'm not doing any photo shoot, because if I choose another school, I don't want a picture of me in your stuff at all. So, that's a new thing for me, but that's just me. That's the way I'm built. I'm wired a little different. So
Loren Meadows joining us on this edition of the Animal Football Insider. I know you got to go here in just a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I got about 10 minutes though. We're good.
Oh, okay. So I didn't know. I didn't know about how much time you had here. So, a lot of people wonder why Florida is not throwing out the big money deals the same Miami has been throwing out. And I kind of tell people, look, Florida's not about throwing money at people for NIL deals. Florida is about people that actually want to play football and want to earn that money. You go there, you're going to earn that money. You're going to earn that. You're going to earn those sponsorships. Look what happened with Anthony Richardson. He goes there. He eventually gets an NIL deal, being a sponsor, collecting some money. Of course, he's going off to the NFL draft. I'm mad at him about that, but but selfishly, but I kind of get that. I kind of get that. As we enter the postseason, post Las Vegas Bowl, and then the early signing day comes and goes, there's going to be some coaches that might leave. And then I think we can pretty much expect some coaches leaving. Now, I'm going to throw this out there, Chief, because I just found this out a couple of hours ago. Christian Robinson, coach at Auburn, announced today that he is leaving the school. Okay. If you recall, Robinson, I believe, used to be a coach at Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think Billy Napier might be keeping an eye on that, and as we get into the postseason and all, post the off season with the recruiting and all that? Do you think he might be looking at that as well?
Well, yeah. I think so. One of the things that, and I don't even know this, I know that late or early last year, Christian Robinson had just bought a new house in Gainesville. Now, I don't know if he was able to sell the house, so he could still have a house here in Gainesville, possibly, that he owns. But obviously, Christian Robinson was thought to be one of the few guys on Dan Mullen's staff that was a pretty good recruiter. Obviously, if Billy Napier has some attrition, I don't think he would get rid of somebody to get Christian Robinson.
No.
But if someone would possibly get like a coordinator job or something like that, I mean, yeah, I definitely could see, Christian Robinson coming back, and obviously has ties to the Georgia area as far as recruiting. Like I said, I think did a really good job here. He's a good young football coach, great guy. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, I could definitely see that. So yeah, I mean, anybody would be pretty happy to have Christian Robinson on their football staff for sure.
Do not be surprised if Florida makes a run at what was he defense? Was he like a line defense?
He
He's a
coach linebackers.
coach linebackers. Do not be surprised if he brings Robinson on as maybe an advisor to the defense or something. Anything to get more hands on from a recruiting standpoint to bring more guys in. In fact, I'm gonna go online right now to say Christian Robinson is going to be a coach with the Florida Gators. I'm saying Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know why I'm saying that.
You bounce around. That's all right. You cover it all, man. That's good.
As we wrap this up tonight, bowl games are happening. Going to start this weekend. What do you do? Are you watching any specific games? Of course, we got the championship coming up on New Year's Eve with Georgia and Ohio State and the other two teams, Alabama and the fourth
Michigan and TCU.
Yeah, Michigan and TCU. What stands out? Are there any games that really stand out to you? That any bowl game that you say that might be a game worth watching?
Yeah. I've really been intrigued with the Utah team that Florida played the first week of the season. I think that I'm interested to see what kind of game Penn State and Utah is. I think that could be a pretty entertaining game, like last year's Rose Bowl. Obviously, Tulane in the Cotton Bowl. I can't remember who they're playing there in the Cotton Bowl. And, can Kansas State go toe to toe with, I think there's Alabama in the Sugar. So, yeah, I mean, there's some games there because, who's going to play for Alabama? How many guys are they going to have? And, Kansas State will be ready to play, buckle up, Big 12 champs. So yeah, outside of the playoffs, and then obviously you want to see if TCU, what kind of hangover they have. Can they hang with Michigan? And then the Ohio State Buckeyes, who really the last time they were on prime time, really didn't bode well in 2020 for them against Alabama in the national championship game. Are they game? I think a lot of people wanted to see the Ohio State offense versus a big-time defense like the Georgia Bulldogs bring. So, they'll be without Jackson Smith and Jigba. Trey Henderson announced that he's not going to play in the bowl game. He's going to have foot surgery, which I think is the best thing for that young man. So I do agree with that. He's kind of been struggling with that. So I would say, this year's Cotton Bowl, Sugar Bowl, the Rose Bowl. But the Rose Bowl is number one outside of the college football playoff. And Florida's game on Saturday. I'll be tuned in for that. I really think that Rose Bowl game is going to be a pretty good football game. Utah's started to really play well on the perimeter. And, Joey Porter Jr., Joey Porter, who played in the NFL, his son is one of the top corners in the country. So hopefully he doesn't opt out. And I really he's kind of a warrior out there. Reminds me a lot of Joe Hayden back in the day, just somebody who's always in the mix, will come up and hit you. And so, yeah, I'm really, really interested in that Utah Penn State game in the Rose Bowl.
What was really nice that you mentioned all those teams, the fact that Alabama is not playing for the national championship,
Yeah,
I know it's SEC, guys. I know it's SEC, but hey, every year it's Alabama. It's time to change it up,
Right. Well,
and put these boys in here, right
absolutely.
here,
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
It's coming.
But the other thing is, I'm a native Ohioan, so I am from the great state of Ohio, so I will be silently rooting for the Buckeye State against the Bulldogs as well, because I'm an Ohioan and I'm a Florida Gator fan, so I have no love for the Bulldogs whatsoever. So
You know what we say. I'm a Gator fan, and I root for every other SEC team except for Florida and Alabama. That's how I see. I know you gotta
right.
go. I know you gotta go. Got things to do. I got things to do. We'll meet back here. If you can join me next week for Insider,
Absolutely.
we will talk about the wrapping up the bowl game and talk about the first day of National Signing Day and what they got out of it in 2022. Lauren, thank you
All
so
right.
much for joining me, man. It's great. God bless you,
Yeah,
man.
appreciate you
Thank
having
you.
me, and enjoy the game this weekend. We'll talk to you soon.
There you go. Thank you very much. Loren Meadows joining me on this edition of the Animal Football Insider. Always great to talk with Lauren as we get you ready to go. So, yeah, there are some games that are coming up this weekend. Let's see. Actually begins tomorrow night when Miami of Ohio takes on UAB. There'll be some games on Saturday. Cincinnati at Louisville. Jackson State versus North Carolina Central. Obviously, the Gators and Oregon State on ESPN. The Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl. How did Jimmy Kimmel get a bowl? I don't get that. Washington State versus Fresno State. The Lending Tree Bowl, and then you got SMU BYU, the New Mexico Bowl. Then wrapping up Saturday will be North Texas versus Boise State, and that'll be the games on Saturday. Then after that on, you got games every night until the national championship game. Now, let us get you ready to go for what's going to happen this week in the National Football League, and of course. Let me get to it. Here we go. Okay. By the way, San Francisco is leading Seattle 14-3 at halftime in that game. So let's get you lined up. Tell you what's going to happen Saturday. While the college football is going on, NFL Network is going to have 3 games on. Indianapolis at Minnesota at 12, Baltimore, Cleveland at 3, followed by the Dolphins at Buffalo at 7:15 p.m. on the NFL Network. Now, what's interesting about that Buffalo game is that they're calling for a lot of snow in that game. So that's going to be an interesting game to watch. Then we got some matchups on Sunday: Philadelphia, Chicago, Atlanta, New Orleans, Detroit at New York, Pittsburgh, Carolina, Dallas, Jacksonville, Kansas City, Houston. How about Jacksonville and the way they played last week? I mean, that was an extraordinary win for them. I'm telling you right now, watch out for the Jacks. They can be a dangerous team. Arizona versus Denver. New England would be at Las Vegas. Tennessee at the Los Angeles Rams. Chalk up another loss for the LA Chargers. Chalk up another loss for them, Vince. Cincinnati will be at Tampa. We talked about that already. And also New York, the Giants will be taking on the Washington Redskins, 7:20 p.m. On NBC. Monday night we'll have the Rams at Green Bay at 7:15 Eastern Time. A couple other news items to keep you abreast of. We should have talked with Lauren about. The NCAA is going to have a new president that was announced recently. And I forget the name, but he's going to be taking over the NCAA in March. Bobby Petrino has a new gig. Brett McMurphy reports that he's going to be the Rebels UNLV's offensive coordinator. So that is some interesting news right there. So Donovan McMillan, who used to play with the Florida Gators, he has transferred to the University of Pittsburgh, and that's what's going on there as well. So that I want to thank Rock Riley for joining me. I also want to thank my good friend Loren Meadows. Next week we'll be back on for another edition of the Animal Football Insider. Actually, let me check one thing real quick, and the reason why I'm bringing this up, Let's see here. So I wanted to make sure that the Bucs were playing on Thursday night. Actually, Bucs will be playing next week. The Bucs will be playing at Arizona for a 7:20 kickoff, and we'll talk about more about that game. And hopefully, we also can talk about a Buccaneer win against the defending AFC champion. Against the Cincinnati Bengals, and we'll talk about that as well. Thank you all for joining me tonight. It was great. We'll be back next week for another edition of the Animal Football Insider. Thank you, Corporate Director, for sponsoring the show. Always a great time. Until next week, you're truly the Animal saying so long. And if you're not a Gator, you're primed to be Gator bait. So long, everybody, and have a good night.
Thank you for watching Animal Football Insider. Be sure to join us every Thursday night here on Facebook Live.